So, Mr. Balto, I want to ask you, I know you've worked on deals with Time Warner, but you also represent consumer groups. Who's to say that Randall Stephenson is right here and that this is something that's politically motivated? Couldn't it be the case that the regulator has just decided this would not be good for the US consumer?
Well, ultimately, the Justice Department's going to have to demonstrate in a court of law before a judge that consumers are going to be harmed. There's a lot of things in this complaint that would raise concerns for competitors of AT&T, but the question is, will consumers at the end of the day be harmed? And I think DOJ has a very daunting case, a daunting battle in front of them. The law they're relying on is over a half-century old. It reminds you of the movie Back to the Future. You're going to need a time machine to go back to that law. And I think most courts are going to be very skeptical about relying on law that old and the factual predicates for this case.
Why? Why is a vertical merger something that, we shouldn't be terrified of when it comes to distributors and makers of content? After all, the program access rules that would have allowed, consumers a voice here, they sunsetted back in 2009.
Well, that's exactly the point. What evidence is there, Vonnie, that there's been the kind of exclusionary conduct the Justice Department is raising concerns about? A merger case is really tough. Judges want to say what happened in the past. They don't like to predict the future. And the Justice Department is trying to get a judge to predict this merger will be anti-competitive when there's paltry at best evidence that firms have engaged in this kind of conduct in the past. That's going to make the Department of Justice's case really tough.
If Randall Stephenson, can make the case that it's not going to be anti-competitive, how then does he defend the fact that Comcast objected back in, the Comcast Universal, NBC Universal merger, that they objected to that at the time?
I think it's going to be based on the facts that are presented before us, and that's a great question. If you look at how competition has changed dramatically since Comcast NBC, how programmers have so many more avenues to the market than they did 5 years ago, it strongly suggests that DOJ has taken a snapshot of competition. They're looking at one moment and not looking at what's going to happen in the future. And that future shows that there are numerous alternatives for programmers, for distributors to be able to offer their products and serve consumers regardless of this merger.